Welcome to FUtube, the segment where we respond to your complaints about deceptive and misleading claims. I'm Craig Rucastle. First up, a quick message about that age unsuitable card from before. As Ken pointed out, you're not out of the woods once you turn 3. He found this card for a 4-year-old that was
not intended for children under 5 years of age.
So remember, people, no matter how old the recipient, please be careful, because you ignore greeting card safety warnings at your peril.
Happy birthday, Gus.
Thanks, Asha.
Next up, Matt, who did something with his Samsung tablet that made us at the checkout very proud.
I decided to follow the links and have a quick read of the new terms and conditions.
You know, it's people like Matt that make doing this show worthwhile. But Samsung's terms and conditions turned out to be not such a quick read.
Approximately 107,180 words.
And to put that in perspective, that's about the word count of the Emily Bronte classic, Wuthering Heights.
But Lord Smythe, without limiting Samsung's other rights, Samsung may terminate your use of the Samsung Book Readers Hub.
No, let's not do that, please. So, Matt wrote to Samsung and asked the reasonable question.
How is anyone supposed to read the approximately 107,180 words of the terms and conditions, privacy policy and data combination?
Samsung answered with a form letter suggesting that Matt go to a section of their website where he could ask questions, but only after logging on and agreeing to their terms and conditions.
Those cats!
Please, you'll give yourself the vapors.
The good news, Matt, is that there are protections in the law for this kind of thing. Under sections 23 and 24 of the Australian Consumer Law... No! Basically, the consumer law says that any standard form contract, like these terms and conditions, any term that is not fair is void. And the good news for you, Matt, is that one of the things that has to be considered when deciding what's fair is whether the term is expressed in a way that is clear and readily available. And we think that if something's hidden away in a 107,000-word block of legalese, then it's pretty hard to call it clear and readily available. So we asked Samsung if they agree, and we hid that question inside 107,000 words of Wuthering Heights. Man, hope they enjoy moors and brooding. Next up, we heard from Adele, who's worried that her complaint...
It might be a little boring.
Adele, have you seen the checkout? We did 6.5 minutes on superannuation and 4 on insurance. I mean, how boring do you think your issue...
It's about superannuation and insurance.
Oh. Well, anyway, Adele was proud as punch when her teenage son got his first part-time job and therefore joined his first super fund.
Great, I thought kids starting superannuation so young will be well covered.
And I'll bet Adele's son was stoked too, because there's nothing that teenage boys love more than responsible fiscal management.
Just look at the magazines I found in Michael's room!
Well, boys will be boys.
But a year later, they discovered that almost every cent of his super had been spent on life and income insurance, a policy that they didn't even know he had. So how did he get it?
Because he'd not ticked a small box on the application form to opt out.
Now, the super fund wasn't being dodgy. In fact, a lot has changed in the world of super funds recently. The government now makes all employer-nominated funds offer life and disability insurance on an opt-out basis. So check your super statements and see how much of your super these insurance payments are eating up. And if you're happy with that amount, by all means, keep the policy. But if you're not, contact your fund and opt out. You see, super and insurance can be interesting.
I agree.
Not you too!
And now we turn to Jill, who, like Adele, was just...
wanting to be a helpful mum.
Man, so many helpful mums in this segment.
You're doing great, darling.
Thanks, Mum. So, wanting to be a helpful mum, Jill...
bought Telstra prepaid phones for all of my kids.
What a nice mum. But the thing with a lot of prepaid phones is that you lose unused credit unless you renew before it expires, which is a problem for Jill.
It's hard to keep track of the dates when credit expires, and I naturally resent the phone company pocketing any unused credit if I miss the expiry date.
Now, losing credit is something we're often asked about.
If I've bought and paid for credit, doesn't it essentially then belong to me? Shouldn't I be able to use it how and when I please?
The short answer is no. The slightly longer answer is that it's a standard form consumer contract, so you could argue that it's unfair. But the telcos are generally transparent about this. But back to Jill. She wanted to set up an automatic payment to stop her credit expiring. Now, the problem is that Telstra prepaid credit expires every 30 days, but Telstra's automatic payments must occur on a certain day of the month. So,
Whenever a month has 31 days, the credit expires before the automatic recharge date and your money vanishes.
So regardless of how you feel about prepaid credit expiring in general,
I'm sure this is morally theft.
losing it to a system that's either been designed with overwhelming incompetence or ingenious, if low-level, bureaucratic evil is especially galling. So if you're in a situation like Jill's, make sure you take it further. Although, I guess in Telstra's defence, they only rip you off on months with 31 days, which is only 30 days out of September.
It's 7 months of the year, Ben.
Thanks, helpful mum. Finally, MG has emailed asking,
How do the normal consumer laws apply to garage sales?
Oh, MG, that was such an interesting question, delivered with such disregard for caps lock etiquette that we got our research team right onto it. So, how do consumer laws apply to garage sales? They don't. Thank you. According to the ACCC, the consumer law rights to repair, replacement or refund don't apply to one-off purchases from a private seller. But they do say that you have the right to full title, undisturbed possession and no unknown debts or extra charges. And if you want to know what that means, ask the My Questions section of the Samsung website. So,
We hope this answers your question.
until next week, good night.
Good night!